In today's episode of the Pathmark Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Schenker, who is the content and strategy, therefore, heading up the marketing team at Autodesk. And today we're going to be learning all about Autodesk, how they're serving their clients and, what they actually do and how Dan is thinking about growth for the company. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome. Give us that 360 overview. What is Autodesk all about?
Yeah, sure. Basically, Autodesk is an e-commerce order management app for merchants, artists, suppliers. We basically just want to help everyone automate their workflows. We've built over 300 integrations now to shopping carts, marketplaces, print on demand, fulfillment, suppliers, shipping companies, pretty much everything that an e-commerce business needs to run. Mm-hmm. We have built a rules engine to power that automation, and we have custom import and export templates, and pretty much anything that businesses need to scale their e-commerce business.
Very cool. Okay, makes a whole lot of sense. Maybe tell us a little bit more about what types of e-commerce businesses are we working with? Are we talking, small size businesses? Because there's certain industries within e-com that are, primarily using the software.
Yeah, exactly. We do cater to small and medium-sized businesses, a lot of print-on-demand companies and artists in particular, people who are looking for a way to set up drop shipping, things like that. Pretty much any business that's looking to scale up in a smarter way, but for the most part, small and medium-sized businesses.
And would that mean that's even, so let's say founders would be reaching out to you, or is it more like marketers or operation managers? Where would you, who basically, is identifying that Autodesk would be helpful for them?
We see a bunch of people pretty much all across the board. We do see small founders, a lot of times of fulfillment companies, shipping companies, things like that. But we'll also see artists who have never really gotten into e-commerce before, and they're looking for ways to bring in more money with their art and stay creative without, keeping a large inventory of items, things like that. Mm-hmm. But we'll see operations managers, we'll see marketers and biz dev and growth type people.
Okay, so
a lot of people across the board.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Given the sizing of the business that you were describing, makes a whole lot of sense, and given all the integrations that you guys have. So, okay, yeah. Cool. That gives us an overview. Maybe tell me a little bit about, how these folks hear about Autodesk. Like, what would be sort of the typical channels that you guys are leveraging for growth?
Sure. We've been super fortunate that as long as we've been in business since 2014, the majority of our business has been word of mouth. David Hollander, who's our founder, he has spent years just building relationships with people across the industry and in various subsets of the e-commerce industry. And that's really been our primary marketing channel, believe it or not. We've met a lot of people, and they love what we're doing, and we just have a good relationship with them, and they tend to send people to us because Autodesk makes their lives easier too. So it's been really nice, actually, that people are coming to us because it makes us feel like we're adding some value.
That I would say makes true. It's true. If you have like a strong word of mouth, typically tends to be the case that folks have been actually quite happy with what they're receiving. Okay, yeah. Makes sense. What role then do you attribute to the website? I know you're hitting up the marketing side of things. How do you think about the website? What role does it play for Autodesk?
Really, Autodesk is pretty robust. So we often have a difficult time explaining what it is that we do to people. And so our website has been pretty key in helping us with that. We sort of use it to highlight our biggest features and of course our integrations and the partnerships that we've built across pretty much all of e-commerce. We've been building it out quite a bit to feature as many of our partners as we can, to really just show how we're helping their customers by existing, by being able to send or receive orders to or from them, and really benefit other people. So we've been building our website out for pretty much that reason.
Makes sense. Most marketers that we have on the show, they're quite critical actually with their own website. You mentioned it's already, taking a big part of explaining what you guys are doing. Where do you sort of see the biggest strength of the website versus where do you see the biggest room for improvement moving forward?
There's a lot of room for improvement. I'll be a stereotype in that regard. There are a lot of things that we are hoping to build out and add to it. Really, I would say the biggest room for improvement is we haven't focused a lot on our website. We've put most of our development efforts into our app, into making sure that it's running properly and building out lots of features and things like that. And our website sort of ends up on the back burner a little bit. So a lot of the things that we end up needing to do are, updating the amount of integrations that we have, or we'll miss a logo that we should have added somewhere, things like that. But as far as our biggest strength, I would say I think we do a good job of expressing who we are as people, which tends to be a big draw for us. If you go read reviews of Orderdesk, pretty much all of them say that they fell in love with our support team. And I couldn't agree more. I think our support team is incredible. We've all had really bad support from any number of companies that we've had to reach out to as customers. Yep. And we kind of keep that in mind as we try our best to support a complex product. People come to us expecting a bad experience, and when we turn it around and we give them a good one, they're pleasantly surprised. So I think on our website, we put a lot of effort into sharing that with people, that we're real people. We care about each other. We care about the work that we do. And I think our site represents that pretty nicely.
Yeah, and for everybody who's listening in, you can head over to autodesk.com/about, and actually you will get quite an authentic view of the team, I would say, from what I can gather.
That's a kind description of it.
Very cool. So, okay. I would have a question, as we're talking a little bit more about the website. You mentioned it's been a bit on the back burner, but how do you typically, as the marketing folks, go out about figuring out why people do or do not convert on the page? Is that something that you are investigating? Is that something that you have been working on? Maybe some methodologies or tools that you've picked up throughout your career?
Yeah, I think the place that we see that the most is in our app itself. We make it very easy for people to set up a trial, and it's completely free. So anyone can just click the sign up button and jump in. We do have pricing for what it's worth. Our trial period is free. And I think that once people jump into the app, sometimes they can get a little spooked because again, it's robust. We have a lot of features where we'll be the first to tell you that there's a learning curve. And I think that tends to be the biggest place where if someone isn't coming in with the right expectations, then we'll likely end up losing them right there as soon as they sign up. So that is something that we're very mindful of, and we're working toward building that out a little bit. But as we tend to, as we focus more energy on our website, we'll be doing our best to set clear expectations up front.
Yep, makes sense. Super interesting. One thing that I wanted to bring up, and you tell me if it's not relevant, it's a little bit, sidetracked because it's been coming up in a couple of shows recently, which is the cookieless future, right? Third-party cookies are going to go away, mid and next year. And given that you guys work with a lot of e-commerce companies, I'm wondering, is that already a topic that is, slowly but surely, grabbing up with your clients? Is that a conversation point at all, or not yet?
We haven't really talked about it too much. We again, we've focused most of our energy on just kind of building out our app and making sure that everything is working smoothly and as expected. And since most of our marketing has been word of mouth, we haven't really been too concerned with setting pixels and making sure that people are coming from specific places. We're not, that hasn't been a huge focus for us.
Makes sense. Was just asking because that has been slowly. It's funny. It starts to slowly but surely come up in some episodes. So yeah, very cool.
I'm not surprised at all.
Let's switch gears. I would love to learn a little bit more about yourself. I mean, there is a lot of content out there. I mean, you're leading the content side of things, but there's a lot of content out there on running content strategies, a little bit of a meta description going on. Like, where do you like to read? Where do you like to educate yourself with all the noise out there for your sort of your profession?
Oh boy. Everywhere. I feel like that's sort of a cliche answer, but I'll often listen to podcasts like this. I caught a few episodes actually, and they were great. I spend a lot of time on Google. I'll excuse me. I'll think of a question and I'll just pop it into Google, and I'll do my best to kind of dig through the noise, as you said. YouTube is great. I know a lot of people will quote YouTube University, and it's almost a real thing at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll do my best to kind of receive as much information as I can, and then sort of try to establish trends from there, and see what's actually true, and maybe who's just kind of spouting nonsense a little bit, because there's a lot of content out there. I'll give you that.
Very good. Since we're slowly coming to an end of the interview, then I would love to get to know you a little bit better and have a couple of rapid fire questions for you. They're a bit of a surprise to the guests, but if you've listened to a couple of episodes prior, you might already know some of them. So you ready for those?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Cool. What's the last book you read?
Oh boy.
Or listened to, for that matter.
Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time on podcasts lately, and I like the Snacks Daily podcast. It's by the Robin Hood team. It's like an economist type podcast.
What's the one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Steady as she goes. We are just focusing on making a great product, like I've said, and making sure everything is growing super smoothly. Like we're not looking to get investors or anything like that. We're just trying to stay bootstrapped and keep growing at whatever speed comes our way.
Very cool. If there would be no boundaries in tech, what would be one thing that you would fix for your role today?
That's a great question. If there were no boundaries in tech, what would I fix in my role? Well, it's a bit of a lofty goal, but I think business development in general, it can come with kind of a salty reputation a little bit. I think a lot of marketers in particular and biz dev people sometimes can be looked at a bit like salespeople, or like they're trying to get something, and I would love to be able to find a way to redefine that, where it's not so bad. We're not bad people.
Got you. What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
Oh, so many things. I even have an internal page that I call Dream Time, and it's exactly for that reason, where I'm up at night thinking about something, and I don't want to lose that thought, so I'll write it down on that page and then revisit it in a little while. Man, there's a ton of things. I don't even think I could pick one, really.
But it's pretty cool that you have the concept. I think you're the first person on the show that actually has something, in place for that, like the Dream Time page.
I hope it becomes a thing. I would love it if someone is listening, if they would mention it to me, if they implement that.
And the last question would be, right, if we're doing a little bit of time travel and, we go way back, the Academy of Art University, right? So we go a bit of, back there. You're heading out of formal education. So my question now would be, right, you're heading off into the world after education, and going through your different roles. You've been obviously in a lot of videographic related roles, social media, and then also customer operations. So what's the one advice you would give yourself for your journey?
Um, don't settle. I think there are tons of jobs out there, and not everyone even knows what they need all the time. You know, companies don't necessarily know what's missing unless it's proposed. So I think if you have an idea and you believe in it, then pitch it, because what's the worst that could happen, you know?
Makes sense. Then I really appreciate you took the time with us today to be a guest on Pathmark Presents. I want to give you the very last word, right? If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about Autodesk, what's the one thing that they should remember?
I think it's accessible to pretty much anyone. Um, if you have a business, or if you have an idea, or if you're an artist and you don't think you necessarily have a traditional business, there's probably something at Autodesk for you. Um, our support team is caring and patient, and they'll answer pretty much every question you have, and they'll do so thoughtfully, and they won't just throw a bunch of pre-written responses at you. So reach out. We're here for you. I know it sounds a bit cliche, but it's the absolute truth with us. I promise.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathmark Presents.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.